All right, we are 1 week out from Election Day, and on that day, you'll be voting for Oklahoma's next governor. This morning, we are joined live in studio by Libertarian candidate Chris Powell. Mr. Powell, thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate it. Okay, this is the first time in the state's history that a Libertarian Party candidate is on the ballot for governor. What do you say about that?
Well, I think it's really a historic event. I had to go through a primary and a runoff to get to this point. We believe it is the first Libertarian runoff to occur in the country, so I'm very pleased to be at this point. I just wish that we were getting a little bit better coverage from some of the media. There's been some debates that we've not been able to participate in. And that has been a little bit disappointing. To me, that's a failure to inform the public of the choices that are going to be on their ballot. My name will be at the top of the ballot. I would hate for the viewers of any particular media outlet to have their viewers go to the polls and see that name there and not know who it is.
Let's jump right into the issues here. On your website, you say that no one who works in Washington, D.C. or at 23rd and Lincoln knows your child. So why are they making decisions about education of your child? Mandates and directives placed on your local school by self-interested politicians and bureaucrats demoralize teachers and harm children. So what is your plan for education in Oklahoma?
We need to devolve as much authority and responsibility back down to the local level as possible. Authority in the classroom for teachers and respect in the community is what's going to improve the morale of our teachers, along with continuing to address pay, and it's going to improve outcomes for our children. Education doesn't happen in an office somewhere in a city far away. It happens in the classroom between the teacher and the student, and of course the parent is a big part of that as well. Those three people are who are involved in the education process, not politicians and bureaucrats.
Another thing you mentioned, we have the highest incarceration rate in the country. This is unacceptable on both a moral and financial grounds. We need to prioritize who we imprison by focusing only on incarcerating those who pose a genuine threat to the public. The mentally ill and drug users who aren't harming others should not take up valuable prison space that needs to be used for burglars, rapists, and murderers. These are your words. How then would you work to help people with mental illness or drug problems if they aren't incarcerated because they've somehow committed a crime? What do we and how do we help those people?
Well, we can fully fund things like drug courts and diversion programs, and we can continue with some of the things that we've done, like with State Question 780, that decriminalized possession of most narcotics. We can make that retroactive. Basically, if people aren't harming somebody else, they shouldn't be in the prison system. That's not a criminal justice issue. It might be a public health issue or something like that, but it's not a criminal justice issue. We're costing ourselves too much money, and we're costing lives by putting people into a prison system when they shouldn't be there.
There are some people who may not vote for you because they feel that you may not have a chance to win. What do you say to those voters this morning that are saying, well, I do like what he says, but I'm concerned that he won't be able to win?
Well, if you go into the voting booth with the idea that you're trying to pick a winner and you vote for somebody that doesn't represent what you really want, well, how is it that whoever does get elected could possibly know what it is that you do actually want? You're rigging the game for them before they even get there. So you really have to vote for the candidate who most represents your views and what you would like to see happen. And if you want to see something different from what the two establishment parties have offered us in state government for so long, then I'm the only choice you have.
What do you think about the attack ads? They're really ramping up as we head to November 6th.
The attack ads are mostly to drive out the base of the two establishment parties. There are people, they're red team, blue team people who are going to go support their candidate, and they just want to turn out as many of those people as possible. It's not about educating the public. It's not about improving anything. It's just about driving fear of the other guy for those two establishment candidates. One of the things I'm trying to offer is a positive program, a real change to increase liberty and personal responsibility for the people of Oklahoma so that we can live, work, pray, and play the way that we see fit, as long as we don't harm anybody else. And that's what I'm about. I'm going to continue with that positive message. Those guys can throw the mud.
And you talk about praying and playing as people want. Many candidates, when they are running for office, especially here in Oklahoma, they do mention their faith. What do you think about that? Is that an appropriate place?
I'm a person of faith myself, but I don't think it is appropriate to act as though your religion is there to serve your political goals. I don't think that's appropriate. We have not seen a great deal of that in this recent election, of that kind of approach, and I think that's a positive change. Because I think most Oklahomans are people of faith, and we don't need to be attacking each other over it.
When we talk about Oklahoma and the things that we're working on, infrastructure, healthcare, education, how are we going to fund those things? Where is the money going to come from?
Well, we do have increased revenue, as the State Treasurer, Ken Miller, came out with additional reporting the other day showing that revenues are up, so that we do have some more money to work with there. We also have over $450 million in incentives before the Incentive Evaluation Commission. That's been there all along. We've had these budget shortfalls in past years where we cut a lot of things across the board, but we didn't look at much of these incentives. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If you had a loss of income in your household, you'd sell the extra car, or cut the Netflix or the Hulu, something like that. You wouldn't try to pay 90% of all your bills, and yet that's what our legislature has done. So we need to get rid of some of that stuff. We also have a lot of waste and mismanagement in our state government, as I'm sure most people are aware of, with the health department, and I think we have a lot of that in some of our other state agencies as well. We need to clean that up and use our funds appropriately and efficiently, and fund the core services that people expect.
Mr. Powell, hang tight with us. We've got some questions from Facebook for you. We're going to turn to weather, but we'll be right back with this conversation and this dialogue. All right.